Good afternoon, and thank you for your attendance. I invited you here today for an announcement for a project that has been underway since September 2018, and is now at the stage where it requires public engagement. Before that, I'd like to introduce you to the people who have joined me today. First, to my right, is Mr. Willie Ferguson, the chairman of the Grassroots organization MOVE, or MOVE, which stands for Mobilize, Organize, Visualize, and Execute. MP Jamal Simmons is here today in his capacity of chairman of the board of the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation. As long ago as 2005, a government white paper set out plans for the evolution of Bermuda's marine and fishing industries. The white paper stated Bermuda needed a fishing cooperative and 2 shoreside facilities. Building plans were submitted to the Department of Planning in 2009, and those plans were approved. Regrettably, the then recession severely impacted government's ability to construct the facility, and the plans were suspended until a more suitable time. That time is now. Then, in 2018, a group of commercial fishermen approached the Ministry of Economic Development for help. Several meetings were held, and the meetings culminated in a cabinet pledge of support for the fishermen and industry. After that, the fishermen approached MOVE. I will not preempt Mr. Ferguson's remarks, but I will say that MOVE is the kind of organization with whom the government is proud to partner. We wanted to help the group of fishermen, and MOVE provided them with formality and structure. MOVE also formulated an ambitious plan that the fishermen adopted, and it rests on the blueprint that was in the 2005 white paper. Fish is a Bermudian staple food. Regrettably, although we live on an island and are surrounded by healthy, crystal clear waters, it is not always easy to purchase local fish, creating an odd circumstance where fishermen sell out of their product so cannot satisfy the entire demand. Most customers rely on a hookup to find local fish on any given day. At the same time, over 300 families and homes rely on a fisherman's income. And given the uncertainty of weather, gear, and fish, if fishermen are not fishing, they are not earning. If they are not earning, they cannot meet their financial obligations. And if a fisherman's boat needs expensive repairs, their ability to fund those repairs from their earnings and then return to fishing can be rather challenging. It is for those reasons that I'm proud to state that when we released the 2020-2021 national budget, the government allocated $1.5 million to establish a fishing cooperative and a shoreside facility. Bermudians may remember that on the 2nd of September, the finance minister spoke to the media in this very room about the capital projects that were earmarked for development and which funding had been moved up to the current budget year. The fishing cooperative and shoreside facility were included, and therefore the entire $1.5 million is allocated for movement this fiscal year. Mr. Ferguson will now speak about MOVE and its efforts to assist the fishermen. After he is finished, MP Jamal Simmons will then provide an overview, and I will wrap up. Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you, Premier, and good afternoon. As the Premier stated, I am the chair of MOVE, Mobilize, Organize, Visualize, and Execute, a grassroots organization formed in 2015 that raises issues, people, and movements that preserve, support, or promote Bermudians and our way of life. When we were approached by fishermen who asked us for assistance, MOVE readily accepted the request and immersed ourselves in the industry. We created a fisheries committee. Our members fished, worked on boats, surveyed fishermen, met with ministers, and found every government document that we could about Bermuda's fishing industry. We created a 50-question survey for fishermen to determine the size of their boat, which fishing gear they used, the frequency of fishing, crew, venue from where they sold, expenses of fishing trips, and of course, their interest in evolving the industry. In addition, we worked on boats, read papers, and data from the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, and spoke with the founder of the Fishermen's Association of Bermuda. Our experience showed us that while the government is supportive of commercial fishermen, fishermen face other threats. Some of those are foreign, long-line fishing vessels in Bermuda's waters, the lack of access to funding to repair boats to get them back overboard, and the impact of illegal, undersized fishing. Market-wise, we found that it can be difficult for residents to get local fish when wanted because fishermen sell their entire catch, normally within hours of offering it for sale. The amount of imported fish that is sold in Bermuda tells us that part of the solution is needing more fish. The other part is needing more strategy and unity to satisfy the national demand for fish. All of the data and experience was then compiled and analyzed, and in 2018, we approached the minister with our findings that led us to believe that a fishing cooperative was the most effective method to increase the annual catch and economically empower fishermen. We had a very fruitful meeting with the minister and the technical officer who came by several move meetings throughout 2019 to talk about and to listen to members and fishermen. It is for these reasons, and as a result of that, due diligence and other work, that in the fourth quarter of 2019, we created a timeline to establish the Bermuda Triangle Fishing Corporation. The cooperative will be running a pilot program to test assumptions and to establish the practices and processes that the full cooperative intends to execute. We have also created incentives for members, and we will also assess them according to results of the pilot program. We are excited to be advancing the project, and over the next weeks we will be making further announcements and holding a public meeting for interested persons to learn more about this innovative and development for our fishermen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. Now, Chairman Jamal Simmons.
Thank you, Premier. Very early in our administration in 2017, I had a group of fishermen approach me. And during the course of the meeting, it became very clear that as a industry, they were fragmented and they were not operating in unison. And when we met, I encouraged them to look at the models of other industries where they organize their needs and their desires and operate as one. And over months, as we met with them, they began to come forward with ideas of how the industry could be improved. We are driven by data. So the technical officers in the ministry at the time undertook research and provided me with data that showed the state of the industry. They reported that the amount of fish we import annually is in the millions of pounds, and there were dozens of species. So it was difficult to make a fair comparison with the local catch. I advised them to only analyze the species that we could catch in our waters, so there would be no haddock, pace, Chilean sea bass, or things of that nature. Once we had the data, it was clear that if the market forces remained unfettered, in the future the average Bermudian might only rarely find Bermudian fish. Today, importers import in amounts that far exceed the annual local catch. As an example, in 2017, with just the species that we can catch in Bermuda's waters, local fishermen caught 385,000 pounds of fish, and importers brought in 757,000 pounds. However, in 2018, local fishermen caught 354,000 pounds, while the importers brought in 1,150,080 pounds. On average, over the last 5 years, importers have brought in 2 times the annual entire local catch. When tourists ask for local fish, when Bermudians ask for local fish, and when they want to serve it at functions, they expect and want fish caught in Bermuda's waters. And our fishermen have been doing their utmost to supply that demand, and this is where other entities have a role. As you will be aware, the BEDC has a cooperative economics unit, and the BTFC's volunteer board has held meetings with the BEDC officers several times over the past year. In addition, the BEDC is a board member of BOP, the Bermuda Ocean Prosperity Program, an initiative designed to plan and utilize our 200 square mile economic exclusive marine zone surrounding Bermuda. Part of BOP's remit is to liaise with stakeholders, and while there are other bodies, a fishing cooperative combines fishermen's commercial interests with stewardship of the sea. Accordingly, given MOVE's work, BEDC, BOP, and other public and private bodies' role, I am proud to help launch the Bermuda Triangle Fishing Cooperative, initially a private-public partnership that seeks to satisfy the national demand for locally caught fish. The BEDC and BOP each have a role to play in our marine industry, and the Bermuda Triangle Fishing Cooperative has the support of the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation. This is an exciting development, and I look forward to the economic empowerment of our fishermen and the enhancement and improvement of our industry, as well as a significant increase in Bermuda's annual local catch. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Simmons. The time is right to launch this facility. Why? The current situation with the amount of imported fish, which was just highlighted by Chairman Simmons. Second, the need for increased stewardship of our ocean and ocean resources. And third, the need to stimulate our economy with capital projects that put Bermudians back to work and provide a better future for Bermudians. As I close this announcement, I was told a story that piqued my interest. A tourist couple had come to Bermuda, was staying at a vacation rental, and the wife, who was a good amateur chef, wanted to be able to cook local fish for her husband on their last night, a tradition she does on every vacation. They advised the hosts on arrival, and although they were here for 3 nights and 4 days, they left Bermuda without cooking local fish. The hostess just could not find any fish within that time. We live on an island, yet local fish appears to be a delicacy. For most of us, buying fish is about luck. You're driving home and see a sign, or if you're really connected, a fisherman will call you and tell you that he has fish. But that is not the way that we buy local eggs, vegetables, honey, milk, or bread. So why is it so different for fish? Perhaps with a cooperative meeting the national demand, the tourists may have had a different experience, sampled our fish, and possibly even found a way to export some to our home country. There are many items that have sat on shelves and many reports that have sat on shelves, and the issues in there have not been advanced. This project will not be one of them. The government will lead stakeholders to a sustainable and empowering future for Bermudian fishermen and the fishing industry, enabling them to improve their lives and better provide for their families as we grow our economy with investments which work for Bermudians. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Good afternoon. Owen Johnson Barnes with the Royal Gazette. First of all, for people who might not be aware of exactly what a co-op is, can you explain a little bit about the structure and how it's going to benefit fishermen and get more fish on the Bermuda's plates?
Jamal or Willie?
Well, the concept really is about collective power, buying power, organizational power, things of that nature. And really what it's about, all of them having a stake in this together, thinking together, strategizing together. And that's the simplest way I can sort of term it.
One other thing that I would add about cooperatives, and this is important, because in Bermuda we like to do things by ourselves. And the market in Bermuda is not big enough for all of us to do our individual thing. So that's the beauty of cooperative economics, and that's the reason why it is something that the government has pushed. So the example which I give is that people can come to BDC, and we could give 5 persons $20,000 to buy their individual shirt printers, or we could spend $50,000 to buy a really big and good shirt printer that all those 5 persons can use and be more effective, etc. That's the same thing when we're talking about a shoreside facility. There could be numerous ones, or we could find a way to work together to put our resources into one place, which can serve a lot of persons and can make everyone more efficient.
Now, of course, one of the things that was mentioned as one of the threats to the local fishing industry are international longline fishing, you mentioned. Can you say what actions government is taking and intends to take to sort of address that issue?
I'm happy to answer that from the perspective of what I know. The minister who's responsible for the environment is the deputy premier. But what I do know is that's been a long-standing issue, and there have been discussions on how to use modern technologies in order to enforce that. But I think our focus has to be how we can't necessarily complain about persons with longline fishermen in our waters if we are not willing to go ahead and make sure that we take advantage of our own resources. And this is a step for us to make sure that we can actually catch more fish and process more fish so we can serve the local market, but hopefully then grow and expand it to serve the international market. Bermuda needs a more, I would say, dynamic fishing industry to take care of those items where we have persons who would be fishing inside of our territorial waters. If we had the capability to do so, that might be something we could do as well.
And can you explain a little bit the timing of this announcement? With the election coming tomorrow, some people might say this is an effort towards electioneering or something along those lines.
People will say anything that the government says is towards electioneering. We've been advancing these issues, whether it's inside of our platform or whether it's what we did. They said it was electioneering when we announced the moving up of capital projects. The fact is that we are going to continue on our agenda. If we are not returned to government tomorrow, then hopefully the next government will pick this up. If we are returned to government tomorrow, the matters will continue. We have continued upon this path because it's important that work doesn't stop just because people are going to the polls.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.